welcome again to those of you who are connecting right now. We are here with Ulm University, and today we are talking about food and tourism. So I think that without further ado, I can now leave the floor to our panelists for their presentation. So enjoy this webinar and see you later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carolina. It's a pleasure to be here and to present you a couple of thoughts around gastronomy and food tourism, and to link them to the tourism sector as an ever-growing sector and a sector that we are pretty much interested in, and we're pretty much in with our courses at Ulm. I present a little bit myself and just introduce the two speakers as it has already been done. We have the pleasure of talking to Regina Brix, that is giving a lecture in our master's degree program about food and beverage management. Thank you, Regina, for participating. And also Antonio Patella, whose job is an adventure, I would say. So private chef, probably everyone is asking him, his or herself, what a private chef is, and we'll discover it in a second. So what is food for tourism? This is the first question I'm asking myself, and I was asking myself when preparing this webinar. Well, basically, we can say that eating, right, belongs to the basic needs of the guests, right? Sleeping and eating. We always say guests need to find an accommodation, and they need to find ways to find nourishment for the days they stay in a destination. So at least we can say, first of all, food responds to a basic need of a guest, but it's so much more than that. So I wanted to start this short speech by saying it's so much more than that. It's so much more than nourishment. If we just think of organic or plant-based food, it's also a matter of healthy lifestyle, right? So it's still at the individual level, but it's a way of taking care of oneself. And while being on holiday, we can think, we can have more time to think and to reflect about what we eat and how we eat, how much time we spend eating, and talking maybe with our friends or relatives or with those that share an experience with us. So it's not only a basic need, it's also a basic need, but it's part of something much broader than that. The second thing I'd like to highlight is that probably eating in a specific place we are visiting is something very different from eating while at home. Because eating in a destination is somehow tasting that destination. So you have another channel, another way of taking a point of view and understanding what that destination is. So in this sense, from food festivals to fine dining or to other forms of food expressions, somehow you have food as being an expression of identity of the place. Sometimes probably if we connect food to festivals, to, I don't know, if as I said, street food festivals, it can be connected to attractions, right? There are iconic restaurants we need to visit if we go and visit a place, and these places turn into tourism attractions. There are traditions in the cuisine that have been recognized as immaterial heritage. So, for instance, in 2010, the Mediterranean diet was recognized, was acknowledged as an intangible cultural heritage. What does it mean? That means that it's a non-touchable attraction for tourists, that people probably like Antonio can transform into a perceivable and tasteable concept. So being a sign of identity, food tourism is also a way to preserve traditional recipes, traditional practices, and also a way to innovate them, because of course tourists are demanding, right? So they ask for change, they ask for being in constant relationship with innovation. So they want to have new tastes in their dishes. They do want to taste the local tradition, but they do also want to have innovation in their food. So it's a sign for identity. So it's a basic need. It's a sign for identity. What else? What else is food for tourism? Well, it is also necessarily a social experience. So just for the fact that you don't cook for yourself normally when you're on vacation, most of the time, you go either to a restaurant or you have someone that is cooking for you. You have a social relationship. If you share your table with other people, no matter if they are your friends or your relatives, you then have a different type of social experience, right? So food is also the time you spend while eating. And normally, I would say the time you spend while eating when you're on holiday is much bigger, or at least of better quality, right, than the one you have at home. And it can become such an important aspect. So the fact of tasting, the fact of eating, the fact of sharing an experience, that food tourism can even turn into what tourist experts would call tourist products, right? So it's not just a matter of having your local dish in front of you and eating something. It's a matter of creating an experience a long time with maybe, I don't know, company visits. You go and taste wine in different wineries, or you take a bike and you enjoy the landscape while stopping and eating in a very rural place. So it's a reason for creating a complex tourism product. And why is it so important for tourism? Because it turns into a way to attract people to unconventional places. I don't know, a dairy or a winery or another production site you would have never visited if you were not interested in that kind of specific regional product. And it is also a way, a reason to make a connection between all producers of local products. So the more we go into the direction of local food, the more we look for higher sustainability related products. So products that come from the surroundings of a hotel or restaurant or any other place where you can get some food. The more we create a connection between different firms and enterprises at local level, and the more the value chain for tourism is positive and is profitable. So from the basic need of eating something, so getting some basic need satisfied, we reach the point of having an entire network of stakeholders in tourism and in other sectors as well, because we might consider also agriculture, right? We might also consider industry. We have this network of different stakeholders that work together to produce our experience. And it's not a matter of a product in terms of what you specifically have in your local dish. It's much more about the story you can tell around this product. And the story you can tell is connected to the stakeholders you have involved in the production chain. It's around the time you spend while explaining this dish. And of course, some parts of the story are not controllable because in the experience economy, we talk about co-production, right? So probably we will then see, and maybe Antonio will then explain how maybe the same dish can be very different according to the place where it's cooked or the people you have in front of you. And that's why food tourism is not only about the activity of eating while traveling, it's pretty much more about a time you develop together with different people that provide you a service and that share the service experience with you. And it's a kind of experience that supports destinations and local economies. And with that, I think I've tried at least to give a couple of interpretations of food tourism. And I leave the floor to our expert, Regina Brix, who's going to deep dive into the trends and the specific features of food and beverage management, which is exactly her field of expertise. Thank you, Regina.
Thank you very much, Anna, for getting already some appetizer on the topics as we stay in the language of food and beverage. I'm very happy to meet you and to talk about food and beverage as this is a super nice topic. It's passionate and everybody needs to eat and to drink. And together with tourism, I think we can hopefully give you a lot of information. Of course, in 10 minutes, I can only give you some, again, small appetizer, but I want to talk about the importance first of knowing your customer, because all what Anna was saying, before you define your offer, before you think about what you do for your tourists or which region or which dishes, you need to know your customer. So the first topic I want to cover is the customer centricity, which is a classical concept in marketing strategy. Then I want to talk about one or two trends in food and beverage, which also Anna was already mentioning. And this is a bit especially about local food. And also Antonio will go later in this local and authenticity, which is extremely important. And at the very end, personalization. And if there is still 1 minute, I want to go also on, I think most of you are Gen Zs listening and watching us. So also giving a little bit the challenge of Gen Z for the food and beverage and for the tourism. So coming to the first overall topic, which is customer centricity. There are studies showing, or let's say first, what is customer centricity? It means that a company, a service, a hotel, a restaurant develops things based on what the customer wants and not what he or she or it thinks the customer wants. So imagine, and there is a saying from a Harvard professor, which I like very much. He says, you need to think from outside in and not from inside out. So don't think what the others may like. Ask the others, analyze the others, get information. So you need to find the tastes of your guests. You need to understand what the tourists want. These are your clients. These are your guests. So customer centricity for every restaurant, for every location where tourists are coming means understanding which customers and what they want. Because imagine, we come to this later, but I was thinking about what makes some nationalities special. And I was thinking about, I'm German. When I have a lot of friends, when they come to Italy to visit me, they want dinner at 6 o'clock. At 6 o'clock in Italy, no restaurant will open. You can have a nice aperitivo, which is the culture, and you should have an aperitivo. But then when they take the aperitivo, they eat as much as they would eat for dinner. So they are not hungry anymore when they go in the restaurant for dinner. So first learning, you need to understand the habits of your customers, where they come from, what they want, what is their regular routine. So market research, understanding them. You need to ask them, you need to look in the internet, you need to have, of course, data, and you need to know about trends. And this is why I want to talk about these 2 or 3 trends. The first one is local versus global food. And this is something which is not only in restaurants or in tourism. If you think about everybody of you going in supermarkets, if you think about big international food and beverage companies, think about McDonald's. Of course, Antonio will now don't like McDonald's because we talk about fine dining and something much better later. But just think about McDonald's. McDonald's has a global hamburger assortment, French fries, they are all over the world, same quality, but they localize to be closer to the local tourists and people. So they have Italian meat in their hamburger. They have in Germany a Würstelburger. They have different ingredients, different flavors to localize, to get closer to the customer, because they know that some tastes may not be relevant. The topic of localization, by the way, is growing since COVID more and more, because everybody remembers, unfortunately, the period of COVID when we had to stay home, or we go in the supermarket and there was nothing or nearly nothing in the shelves. There were some products from local producer. So we tried the local producer desperately because there was nothing else. Then we discovered it's good. And additionally, what brings the local approach for food for a lot of people now is supporting the society, because we think and we know if we buy from local farmers, from producer, we help them also to survive and to be part of the business. So localization in food and beverage is a huge trend. And I have also one example, which I love always, from Barilla. Barilla has a pasta sauce launched in America, which is called Pasta Alfredo. And I may imagine some faces already from Antonio, but also from classical Italians. When you hear pasta sauce Alfredo, even if it was invented in Rome, but it is a pasta sauce which is not typically Italian. There is cream, there is garlic, there is the champignons, there is chicken. So really something which for an Italian is not a pasta sauce. But for the Americans, this is an Italian pasta sauce. So you have to adapt. And if for an American, this is a typical Italian pasta sauce and you want to make business in that country, you need to adapt to the tastes of your consumers. Also spices. Sometimes when you eat Chinese in Italy, for sure, it's not the Chinese food you get in China. You have to adapt to the tastes. So the tourism or the adaptation, the customer centricity comes again in the game. You have to understand how far you can go and what are the expectations. The famous pizza ananas, which Germans love, I'm sorry for this, Italians don't like it very much. So maybe they don't put it on their menu. But maybe somehow this would be a solution for gaining tourists and explaining the story about it to bring it on the table. So the combination about knowing your customers, adapting some tastes, this localization is extremely important. The second trend, which is a bit overlapping all trends, is authenticity and transparency. And I think this is something which also Antonio will talk about later, this authenticity. So the authentic taste, transparent. You need the customer today. And I'm living, for example, in Tuscany, even I'm German, but I know the tourists who are coming there, they want to see the vineyards, as also Anna was saying. They want to see the olive trees. They even pay for helping picking the olives. For me, something incredible because it's hard work, but they want to be part of this experience and afterwards seeing the olives. So authenticity, seeing, feeling the products. This is the new tourism, what people want. They want the out of the box, they want out of their daily life, and they want to feel and be close to food and beverage, what they eat and drink. So this transparency and trust and truth, all these together comes with authentic food, what the people want. And in my background, you see, for example, from my garden, the zucchini, they are really, really fresh. Not this year, they are from last year. But this is authentic, and this is what the people like to see, and also the storytelling behind, something which Anna was saying also before, telling the story about the products, where they come from, how they grow, where they grow, how they look, that they maybe don't look always perfect. Then another trend which also fits to all this is the personalization. Personalization, and this today, restaurants, chefs, companies, they need to have data, and they have data. They need to know, again, their customers, because the customer, especially, again, Gen Z, expects personalized messages, products, dishes. There was a research done from Fox who said, what is important for you if you enter a restaurant? What do you want that the restaurant knows about you? And the first thing people wanted that they remember is the name. So how you did the reservation. So hello, Regina, nice to see you again. It is more important than allergies. It is more important where they see it. The most important thing is the name. So the personalization, people want to feel special. And this is especially in food and beverage, when you then come with specific orders, when you are flexible, when they see the dish, they see the menu. And I think, again, Antonio could talk about hours about this. You need to adapt. You need to find the right way to give them the feeling that it's personalized. It can be also in personalization you can do with a product. So giving them a special dish, food and beverage, specific ingredients. You can do it with special messages and communications. So already inviting them. So special events. We know that you are a wine expert. Please come and taste some wines. Or it can be done also by packaging. And this can be decoration in restaurants. So there are different possibilities. And all this is something which, again, comes with the topic of experience, which Anna was mentioning. The people today want experience, because food and beverage, and this is why I love this field, it's about all senses you have. It's something where you only can have passion, and without you cannot live. To close this loop, I want also to talk about the challenges of your generation, of Gen Z. And I just read yesterday about Italy, the big wine fair in Italy. It's the first time, and there were big discussions about shall they also have in the offer non-alcoholic wines. And there was a huge discussion in Italy. A wine without alcohol is not a wine. But knowing that in most of the countries, the trend is in law and no alcohol drinks due to health reasons, what also Anna was saying, well-being, religious reasons. So there are many reasons why people drink less or no alcohol. And again, here, the markets, the restaurants, they have to adapt. And Gen Z is asking, and there are researchers where they say, I can have fun without alcohol. Why do I need alcohol? There are millions of TikTok videos about don't drink alcohol just to have fun. You can have fun without alcohol. But the industry has to adapt on this. So the non-alcohol and low alcohol is a huge trend where you see also interesting new products growing in the food and beverage area. But you have to adapt. And also Italy, still complaining that this is not a wine. They can call it in a different way. And I just had an information about 5-star restaurants who were asked by consumers for religious reasons who don't drink alcohol. What can we do at the end of the dinner? Others have a wine tasting, others have a wine pairing with chocolate or with cheese. What can we have? So restaurants need to adapt. And what is one of the solutions, which is a huge trend at the moment in 5-star Michelin restaurants, is tea pairing. So instead of wine, you have the ceremony of offering different teas and pair it, and you cannot imagine how different a tea tastes with different cheeses. So these are adaptations, and this fits, and I think this closes very well all topics I was mentioning. It's about localization, it's about trends, it's about knowing your customers, and also innovating the business. And I could tell you many things more, but I think now Antonio from his side or Anna will take over to show you the executional side about what I was mentioning in terms of trends. So thank you very much.
Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot, Regina. I think this was an excellent starting point to know more about practice and to know more about how to do all this and how to be successful in all that. But I think it was very nice to hear from this paradox, right? So on the one hand, being able to respect and to reflect the tradition, on the other hand, being able to adapt to ever-changing markets, and to demanding markets that come from many different backgrounds and have many different expectations. So now the question is all yours, Antonio. How are you doing that? And most of all, I wanted to ask first, what is a private chef?
Hi to everyone. Good afternoon. And thanks, Anna, for introducing me and for inviting to this webinar. And yeah, my name is Antonio, as you said, and I'm a private chef. So I'm specializing in fine dining and authentic Italian cuisine. I was born in Puglia, south of Italy, and now I'm based in Florence. I think one of us cities are at the heart of Italian food and wine tourism. So my journey began with a degree in economics, in marketing and economics, but my passion for cooking like led me to graduate to Alma from Alma, the International School of Italian Cuisine, and then I worked in Michelin star restaurant. Over time, like I developed two distinct services. So one tailored to tourists seeking an authentic culinary experience, as everybody, both you and Anna, you and Regina, Anna and Regina mentioned, and the other focused on luxury fine dining. So now, maybe you might be wondering why in Florence. So Florence is not just a globally recognized food and wine destination. It's also like a strategic hub that allow me to serve clients from Rome to Switzerland with a strong presence in Milan. So this location enables to me seamlessly operate between experiential tourism and high-end luxury services without the logical constraints of fixed establishment. So in my work, I have like developed two keys approaches. So each tailored to different clients' needs. So culinary experience for tourists, and the second one is luxury private chef for high-end clients. The first one is like travelers I saw that want to taste the iconic dishes of Italian culture mostly. So from, for example, ribollita to carbonara, but made with high quality ingredients, respecting traditional recipes and seasonality and sustainability. Instead, like the second one, luxury private chef for high-end clients, is a refined fine dining experience featuring my own signature dishes and dedicated staff. So including sommeliers, professional waiters, and impeccable service. So this dual approach allows me to offer both authentic flavors for those who want to experience Italian traditional and high-end tailor-made experience for those seeking exclusivity. So nowadays, tourism is, I think, increasingly experiential. So visitors, I saw that don't just want to eat at the restaurant, as you mentioned, like and just eat a meal. They want to fully immerse in themselves in Italian cuisine. So that's why I offer experiences that go beyond just dining. So I offer, for example, cooking classes and market tours. Like I take tourists through historic markets. For example, in Florence, there are two important markets. One is Central Market, and the second one is Sant'Ambrogio Market. The second one is smaller and typical. So it's just from the farm to the stand over there to sell their products. So, and then I try to teach them the secret of Italian cooking, the secret of sustainability, the secret of seasoning. So I try to teach them all of this. The second one is private dining with storytelling, as you said. Like every dish tells a story about Italy's rich culinary heritage. Like also when we do fresh pasta, I try to explain the amount of flavor, for example, of semola in the recipes about the region. Like for example, semola was from south of Italy because in the history they were like more poor, like poor than, for example, Emilia Romagna, where they put in pasta dough eggs and etc etc. So and the third one is curated mise en place and atmosphere. So for example, I always use handcrafted ceramics from artisan, personalized menus. So we ask to the clients to send us like videos or photos of their dining room, where we can personalize also and print the personalized menu with the color of dining room. So and the seasonal ingredient to create a unique experience. So in the end, I think that cooking is not just about technique, it's about creating moments that connect people, making the experience memorable beyond the meal. So another like thing that I would like to say is meanwhile we speaking about luxury, I like to challenge the traditional notion of the term. Like many people associate luxuries with extravagant ingredients like truffles, caviar, champagne, oysters, but in my opinion, and for me, luxury is about comfort. It's about slow food. It's about a stress-free experience where the client focuses only on enjoyment. So enjoy the food, enjoy the moment, enjoy the people. And I also see my role like a chef is bringing the chef back to their original essence. So not just as a restaurant owner or entrepreneur, but as a cook in private kitchen, in domestic kitchens, a role that existed before the fall of royalty or monarchy and nobility. So I always say a phrase that resonates deeply with me is innovation doesn't mean destroying the past, but rather interpreting it with a new awareness. So this is what usually I try to embody in my work, respecting tradition and with elevating it with modern expertise. And another aspect that I would like to talk about is choosing to be a private chef was not like just I want to say a career decision, but a lifestyle choice. So it allowed me to maintain balance between my work and personal life while ensuring the highest level of quality for my clients. And like a few reasons are lower fixed costs. So unlike a restaurant, I don't have the overhead of a physical location, permanent staff, or high rents. This lets me focus entirely on the quality of my service and the ingredients too. So another aspect is uncompromising quality. Like without the constraints of bulk purchasing, I carefully select my ingredients from small and artisanal suppliers. So these ensures superior taste and authenticity while supporting local producer who prioritize craftsmanship over mass production. So the third one is creative freedoms. I'm not bound by a fixed menu. So I can tailor every experience to the specific desires for of my client, as Regina said. Like I ask to because also we don't have like already prep meal in the refrigerator or something like that. We just ask to the clients their preferences and we try to combine and personalize some menu. And in the end, better work-life balance. So not working 30 days a month allow me to research new dishes, find the best suppliers, and deliver a consistently excellent service without stress. And this job, I think, also give me something, how can I say, invaluable, like human connection, because being a private chef means entering in people's homes, sharing stories, and engaging in deep, meaningful conversation, not just about food, how Anna said, but about culture, politics, family, and life. So we talk about everything, and cooking is an act of love. So, for example, I always say my grandmother never asked if I was okay, if I was doing well. Like she asked me if I had eaten. So that was her way of expressing love and care in the purest, most beautiful way. So I try to do this with all of my clients. Another crucial aspect of my work is educating my clients, like both tourists or local, on the importance of seasonality and sustainability. So many people have a superficial understanding of when ingredients are their best. So part of my mission is to show them why seasonality matters, and not just for taste, but for their overall well-being. So, for example, I always say a fish soup is not the same in every season. All truffles have a natural cycle, and high quality ingredients make difference not only in flavor but in overall health. So this knowledge enhance their appreciations of food behind just the dining experience. And how works my work, like how work my job. So the people contact me on, the clients find me online. In fact, another important aspect is marketing, and we discuss their preferences together, and I design a custom menu. Then I personally search the best ingredients from local markets and artisan supplies, and a few days before, for example, the event, the dinner or lunch, and I cook directly in their location, ensuring an unforgettable experience down to the last detail. Maybe if I had something like that take more time, so longer of preparation, we do something at our laboratory, and then we cook directly in their location. And in the end, after the meal, everything is cleaned and left in perfect order, so they just can simply enjoy their event. So at the heart of my work, like, is a simple goal, like to create unforgettable culinary experiences that celebrate both traditional and innovation. So whether it's a tourist looking for authenticity or a high-end client seeking fine dining, food in the end is what connects overall. So in today's world, I think where experiential tourism is growing and growing, food has become one of the strongest attractions, and giving visitor a true taste of our culture, not like something that I would like to sell just to the tourists, because maybe they don't understand really the taste of food or something like that. Whether through traditional dishes or exclusive gourmet experiences, means leaving them with something more than just a meal. Like, it's just a sensory and cultural memory that like will forever tie them to Italy. Thank you for your time, and thank you for everybody, for everything.
Thank you a lot. I think it was a really perfect connection to the words of Regina, and it was a wonderful example. And particularly, I like what you said at the very end. Cooking is an act of love, and it's not just a matter of preparing something to eat for someone else. So it's putting tradition, your knowledge, and it's also another thing I pretty much like about your example is there's knowledge sharing, there's education, and there's idea of letting people know the authentic taste of some dishes, and probably then let's hope getting back to their own countries and regions and not buying anymore the fake Italian products that Regina was mentioning. Why? We hope so, at least. Now, I think we've given an overview of our different topics, and it's time to respond to your questions, right? So I give the floor to Carolina.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for the really interesting presentation and for the overview with some really interesting points of view. So I see so many questions actually in the Q&A box. So I think that we can go straight with the first one. That is from a student that is asking, don't you think that maybe if we adapt the food to the to the tastes of the tourist, we can lose the original flavor of the food? So what will happen along the way if we adapt the food to the tourist preferences?
Who's gonna answer?
I think that
Regina.
you're muted, Regina. Yes.
Sorry, yes. Maybe I just start and then Antonio for sure can also add. I think this question was also written before Antonio was presenting. So I think it's a kind of balance, because you need to know and understand your tourists. You should not totally give up the culture, but you should slightly adapt. And then I think the example from Antonio was perfect, showing the authenticity of ingredients, bringing the tourists to the markets. So it's a slow process where you have to educate. It's a lot of education, and this reminds me to the example of Parmigiano Reggiano, which in America, Parmigiano Reggiano is by far not the Parmigiano, or the Parmigiano in America is not the Parmigiano Reggiano, which it should be, the protected one from Italy. But now there's a huge campaign from the Consorzio from Italy to educate the US consumer when they talk and when they want to eat something with Parmigiano, that it's the real one. So I think it's a process of education and of careful balancing. So this is my opinion. I don't know, Antonio, if you want to add something, or Anna.
Yeah. The only thought I was having is that you should adapt to your customer, but probably not adapting only the dish to the, I mean, you do not necessarily need to change the dish in order to respond to the request of the customer. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Antonio can tell us if this is true or possible, but maybe you can choose the right dish for that customer. So it still remains authentic, but maybe not all people are wanting to eat carbonara. Maybe someone is or arrabbiata because they don't like this kind of taste. So you should understand the taste and adapt, but not necessarily by completely changing the recipe, right? So maybe you can choose another recipe. We don't hear you.
Usually like the first thing that we do with clients is like listen their preferences. So when I offer the menu, maybe I try to do something really closer to their taste, or maybe like they in the first thing, like I love to talk with them to try to understand, and maybe try that they trust me, and maybe I can let them like what eat and what should be fine and cool, like trying of new food. Because like, yes, if you come in Italy and you want eat something that maybe it always at your home, or like or the taste that you know or already know, maybe like is not good, is not real to try. And I try to explain everything like this, but then, how Regina said, we always listen the clients, because we have to serve the clients. So if the clients don't like what we offer, like it's a huge problem. So maybe we try and we explain. For example, that's why I offer also the tour on markets, because they can choose what they want eat or what they want try. And for me, it's like, is a mystery box of MasterChef. If like, I go there and they choose it. They say, I would like to try, and then I have to start to think about what I can prepare with the ingredient that they choose. So it's something like, and that is like approach where we can get a little bit closer than my clients. So I try always to do these things, and then in the end, maybe they fall in love also of something that maybe they don't want to try, or then they don't think about that they love this kind of food.
Yes, Antonio, I think this is very, very nice, because the choice set you give to people coming with you to a local market is not the same choice that they would have in a grocery in the US or in Japan or in China, right? So you bring them to the most important market for local food, so they cannot choose anything else. And once they've chosen that according to their preferences, you need to cook something that is very authentic. So I think it's pretty much different, the type of approach and the type of adaptation you might have for the wide distribution of products abroad, local products abroad, or for the consumption on holiday, right? So the consumption on holiday, I would say, needs to be pretty much more adhering to traditions and roots of the local dish. Whereas for market distribution, you might think of a wider adaptation to the market's needs. So both directions are possible, but maybe for tourism, you might go more for the traditional dish, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's true. So you need to get really always closer than the client. So, and also I always fall in love of client like when they go to the market and they fall in love of a lot of colors that say all, like, because also they are used to see all of these kind of vegetables in all year, so all days. So they don't are used to have the season of products. So this is the first thing that they fall in love, and that's why it's easier to go there. Like, it's my first approach, so they start to trust me, and then maybe we can get more, and they trust me also in the flavor. So that's why this is my first approach of with clients.
Perfect, thank you. Another question that we have is, what are the key skills and competencies that professionals need to thrive in the evolving food tourism industry, in your opinion, of course?
Shall I start? Regina, do you want to start?
Go. No, go.
Okay. What I think is that the most important skill is experience design. So it's the ability to manage and to create emotions while offering a time frame with some specific experiences, right? So it's not only a matter of taking care of the product, but it's a matter of associating to the product many more meanings and many more additional services that enable you to personalize. So the ability to provoke a surprise or to provoke an emotional reaction is something that we probably would not associate to food professionals, right? So maybe not at first. But I think this is one of the abilities I would mention. And another one probably would be marketing, because the spectacular representation of dishes on Instagram, on social media, on TikTok is increasing. And the aesthetic part of food is increasing its importance. So the ability to communicate what you're doing and to make sure that even from a communication point of view, you can reach out your customer is important and is new, I would say. It's not part of what we would have said about a chef probably 15 or 20 years ago. I don't know if Antonio agrees on that.
Yeah, I agree. So, like, also, I think that you need to, to stay with the time. Like I don't know, how can I say, how can I explain, but like, the skill are to understand the people, really understand what they are looking for in that time and in that holiday. Like, so how you say, like, they are looking for emotion, not just about food or just about eat or something like that. If you try to do this, to evoke the emotion in the people, maybe you made the best thing that you can do with tourist people. And there are the skill that I think that you have to first in on the first, like, so this.
Yeah, so managing expectations might be a point, right? So what you said on seasonality and
and
you
sustainability.
know, people expect products to be everywhere, every time, and they
Yeah.
might expect plenty of options in the menu. So managing their expectations is also a key skill, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some will not like to hear it, but you need to have analytical skills as well because you need to do calculations, food cost, ingredients. So it's depends on which area where you enter and what is your task. But analytical skills are always also requested.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes, exactly. And I think that could be also connected to another question that we have, that is about the possible connections to two different paths that are the economy of a country that go the same path to the economy value and of course the tourism value. So when you take into account the food, tourism, and of course the economy circulation, they could be taken in advance at the same time. We can consider to proceed with the economy value and at the same time with the food valuation of course with the food recognizing the food circulation. Do you think that it is possible to maintain the two differences at the same time?
Can you maybe just refer to the
Yeah,
question?
it's the
I didn't
question
get
that
it.
is from Bayu, I think, if I pronounce it correctly. He's asking if you maintain at the same value the food act and the tourism value with this circular economy.
I'm not 100%
Yeah.
sure if I got the question.
Because I
Me-
think that is asking if you when you you give value to food and so to tourism for the food, you give value also to the circular economy. So you add something to the circular economy, and is asking if you can maintain the two things at the same level.
Well, maybe I can try and answer, and we hope by you we got your question the right way. What I can say, coming from a region of Italy in which local food is pretty much important and it's been discussed a lot, also in relationship with circular economy and in relationship with value chains. What I can say is that very often, particularly for very touristic areas, it's quite hard to have local value chains for each kind of product. So that means that you can keep the local value chain for the tourism sector. You can try and make sure that local products are sold to accommodation facilities and restaurants, but they would probably not be enough to respond to the demand of tourists in high season. This is why probably some product would come from outside the region, and you would probably need to take them from abroad or from outside the region. But as much as you can, these two chains should be kept together. What I can say is that from my experience, if the region is pretty much tourism intensive, you cannot satisfy the demand by just relying on local products for each and every product, of course. Because maybe, I mean, I make an example. There is a local ham in my region called Speck. Maybe the Europeans of you know about it, right? So this is a typical example. We do have a local speck from local animals, but it would never be able to satisfy the demand for speck. So speck is a typical local product for South Tyrolean people, and it's been sold in local local cuisine shops and so on and so forth, but it's taking animals from abroad. So there's no way of responding to the demand we have with local products. So it depends on the case. Probably if we took the example of apples for my region, we are among the best producers for Italy and for Europe. We could say that we can cover the demand for apples in tourism. So it's really depending on the product. I don't know if you share this view, Regina and Antonio.
Yes, I totally agree.
Me too.
Perfect. Yes, and I see another question that is, what strategies can be employed, so in this sense, to promote lesser known regional cuisines to international tourists, maybe also promoting local products.
Which one? Which question? Sorry, Carolina.
What strategies can be employed to promote lesser known regional cuisines to international tourists?
I think it's the anonymous attendee. It's
exactly
the pause we have in list. That's a difficult one, I would say. What strategies are you using, Antonio, to promote unknown?
Like promoting lesser regional cuisines to international requires, like, I think, creative and strategic approaches, like
exactly
viral food, like leverage social media and digital content. So the most important things, I think, is also social media, TikTok, Instagram, so all of kind of social, YouTube and virtual cooking classes strategy. So or maybe, I don't know, work with influencer and food blogger. But after that, if you use all of these things, maybe you go to something like your position is about, like, something like content creator, that maybe some people don't trust this kind of things, so is a typical, like, it's a little bit difficult. Or also maybe how I made and how we made, like, we just share highlights of authentic experience but in action, like we don't have something already prepped, like video or photo, but fake action, like we do everything in action. So maybe can be something really real that the people can see and can watch and maybe trust a little bit more. Or I don't know, host festivals and food events, or create engaging and shareable content, so something, all of these thing that you can use for promoting this kind of internet, for the regional cuisine to international tourists.
Maybe also taking them to the place, right? So making them visit the place where it was born.
Storytelling, yes.
Or getting back to the roots of that plate.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think that we can go straight to the last question, because of course time is running fast. So the last one is, what impact has the COVID-19 pandemic had on food tourism, and what are the emerging trends as the industry recovers?
One thing I mentioned was this local. So especially COVID pushed the people to try out local products, to ask for local products and support local communities. So this is for sure one that tourists are asking more. And then, of course, there was a no tourism for a certain period of time, and then a boom. And now there is a boom. So many Americans coming to Italy, for example, which it's recovering. So also different kind of tourists, I would say, are coming after COVID. So the kind of tourism, also what Anna was saying at the beginning, this health and wellness, that people want more than just locations to visit or museums. It's a switch in what the people want. So it's the balance and knowing more about countries and cultures, and also being more curious. So I think this, what I would say, is one result from the COVID pandemic.
And maybe also because of the pandemic, some services changed from being self-served
delivery, yes, sorry,
or delivered, and also this aspect of delivering or serving makes the thing more personal and probably makes waste management different rather than the one you had before, right? So when you served yourself and
Definitely.
probably left so much food in your plate. I don't know, maybe
And also,
wants to add on something.
yeah, and also my job, like private chef, starts to increase because a lot of people, also the tourists, but a lot of people could not go to the restaurant to eat, so try to start to call the private chef for and to go to their home. So I think that the COVID start this kind of new business like private chef that maybe in America or something else, everywhere is already like everybody knows, but in Italy start to grow a little bit more after the COVID. So I think that it
Good for you.
Yeah.
Perfect. So thank you so much for the really interesting debate. I think we had a lot of information today, but also something we can think about. And thank you, of course, for all the questions. Unfortunately, we can't answer to all of your questions, but I would like to remind you that in the next few days, you will receive an email with the contact of Ulm University. So if you have any other questions, both on this webinar, but also about the master, you can write to the university and ask all the questions you have. Also, if you have missed something about today's webinar, you can take a look at it again because it's recorded and you will receive the recording on YouTube. And I've just shared in the chat the links to get the certificate of attendance for today's. So thank you so much for your participation and for your curiosity. And thanks to the panelists for their participation today. So thank you and have a really, really nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good aperitivo.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a nice rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.